as long as we understand our jurisdiction, the federales understand theirs. They don't give me a bit of trouble. I don't trespass on their delegated authority, and they don't trespass on mine. The problem comes where all these people are getting arrested and thrown in jail and prosecuted is when they trespass upon the delegated authority of the territorial government. So, you know, I'm always the one sitting here saying, you know, yay or nay. Yes, that is your jurisdiction. No, that isn't your jurisdiction. And as long as people follow that and pay attention to whether or not they're stepping on somebody, you know, where they shouldn't be. Well, let's use the taxes as an example. Let's say that I was a federal civilian employee. I work for the FAA. And I say, I don't owe federal taxes. Oh, yes, you do owe federal taxes. Because you're a federal citizen. You're a federal employee. That makes you a federal citizen. You are subject. Okay? So if I didn't pay taxes and I sent in a revocation or I made some other protest that I wasn't entitled to make, sure, they'll come after me with tire hammers and tongs, right? But if I stand on me, just my own, my small business income, say, and I make a revocation, they'll never say a word. That's well within my rights. They'll never bother me. Does that make sense? As long as I know where I'm standing and I'm doing what is within my realm, they will never bother me. It's when I trespass against them and start telling them what to do in their realm that they get on the case of anyone who's doing things like it. It's when they get confused. I had a guy who went and thought he was going to take over the state of West Virginia office building. You don't do that. I mean, we're going to get this all straightened out. There's no reason to get militant and start, you know, threatening people. That's not what this is about. This is about reclaiming your property. This is a business deal. This is, you know, correcting a bad error, okay? And getting back control of the government in the hands of the people that it belongs to, instead of letting the hired help run wild, which is essentially what we've been doing. Because all these people are here as hired help. They're here to provide essential government services that have been delegated to them. So what does it mean if I delegate something to you? Okay, I have a duty to dog sit for a friend. Something comes up, I can't do it for whatever reason. So I delegate it to my friend Mark. Okay, well then it's Mark's duty. It's Mark's job to do. Mark has to be there to, you know, feed Fido at 8 in the morning and 6 at night, okay? Now, can I come back and interfere with Mark in his duty? Not unless I release him from it, right? I have to come back and tell Mark, okay, you're off the hook. I'm taking back this duty. But until I do that, Mark is well within his rights to go according to his schedule and according to what he's going to do it and how he's going to do it and all of that, as long as it gets done. And that's where we're at with the federal government. We can go back and we can renegotiate And we can say, oh, well, we're going to take back this delegated power, but we have to do it properly. We can't just go out willy-nilly and, arbitrarily and think we're going to change everything overnight, because it's not going to be that way, not if it's done lawfully. We have to get organized. We have to take back our own names. We have to take back our own states. We have to take back our republics, our counties. We have to do this in a logical way. And if we do that, we can do this peacefully and we can do it fast. That's one young lady.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming. My questions are legion, and I was thinking in quicksand. All that aside, the question that I was asked to ask you because they left, he's hard of hearing and was going crazy. And I hope I've couched this in the proper context in which she meant it. She wanted to know what happens if one has corporations that were done in Nevada or Delaware, or either their companies or in their names. How would that affect, I'm assuming here, name changes, or what would they need to do about corporations that they do have housed in those different states?
Do you know if these are personal name corporations or if these are like actual business corporations?
I'm going to take a leap of faith and say both.
Well, the reason people set up corporations in the state of Delaware is so that they can take advantage of the Chancery Court. Delaware is the only state of state that has a Chancery Court. And if you want to use the Chancery Court system, that's a whole different thing. That is a territorial system court, and it functions under British equity law. So it kind of depends on what you want to do. That would require me sitting down and trying to figure out with her what her actual purpose was in setting up the corporation there, and what kind of law she wanted to be functioning under.
Okay. I don't know, I'm short of running out and throwing myself in front of their pickup. I'll have to try to couch that in terms to them later. But now that you've mentioned that Delaware is the only state and territory that has a Chancery Court, because, of course, there are lots of people out there who are saying that Georgia has a Chancery Court, that Texas is trying to have a Chancery Court, and therefore people are filing declarations of status in Georgia, thinking that, oh, well, it's a Chancery Court, and now we're home free because we'll take this paperwork and file it in our county, and yay, we'll stick it to them. But what you're telling me is that Delaware is the only state that does actually have a Chancery Court. So does that mean that you cannot invoke the Court of Equity anywhere else?
Well, okay, let's sort this out. This country is supposed to run under American common law. There are all kinds of different common law. There's English common law. There's martial common law. I mean, there's natural common law. I mean, you can go all the way around. Ours is supposed to be American common law, which is distinct from all the others. But like everything else, they've confused it. Long ago, back when the country was founded, we came out of the English common law system. This was prior to the development of equity law. All right, so American and British common law kind of went together for about 100 years. And they were pretty much in agreement, and they were doing fine. And then about 1750, admiralty law was added to British common law. And that is what happened that polluted the British legal system and turned it into equity law. Now, I think, my personal opinion, is that equity law is totally evil and corrupt. And the reason I say that is it makes the judge the proxy for the king. So you walk into his court, and he's holding the king's proxy, and he can do whatever he wants to a British citizen. Remember I said that they have us all down as British citizens? Right, so you walk into an equity court as a British citizen, and you are totally at the mercy of the judge.
Can I follow you back to Alaska?
You can follow me, honey.
I'm going to save my house first. I have no idea how to incorporate all this other information with all the gobbledygook that I've been going down rabbit holes for the last 35 years.
I know. But you know, the truth is always simple. It's all of the lies that are complex.
Welcome to our government. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Since Texas retained all the rights to their own land and we're the only state that has our own land office, does that make any difference in all this?
Well, I think that Texas certainly has a very strong case for its land jurisdiction. And it's fortunate that it does. But all the other states also have their land jurisdiction. It's just mothballed. In the case of the other states, they have what are called statehood compacts. And their land jurisdiction is being managed as a giant trust.
They all ceded their lands to the U.S. government?
No, they did not voluntarily cede anything to the U.S. government. The U.S. government came in after the Civil War and pretended to act as their trustees. And so these land jurisdiction trusts are still there, waiting for the land jurisdiction government to claim them. So now, say in the case of Michigan, Michigan has been operated, you guys have been operating for 23 years. Michigan has been operating for almost 30. They have their land jurisdiction government set up so that they can receive back the Michigan State Land Trust. So now they have the claim on their land, just like Texas has the claim on their land. It's just that they have only claimed back the level of the national state of Michigan. It's kind of inverted. You've gone after the national land jurisdiction, and they've gone after the international land jurisdiction. But it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, what you have to come back to is you have your land jurisdiction guaranteed. And since we made sure that the Constitution was not vacated, everybody still has the opportunity to come back and claim their land jurisdiction and operate it. So the Republic of Texas is grand, and that's right in the way it should be. And if you spin off a state of Texas, that's also good. That's two different capacities of Texas. Remember the two unions I told you about? There's the United States of America unincorporated, which is a union of states on the land. That's what the Republic of Texas would belong to. But the other one, the States of America, that was formed under the Articles of Confederation, that's where you would have a national state of Texas participating in that one. And not necessarily the same people elected to serve the office. Yes, sir.
I'm able to hear me very well.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. I have a son born on an Air Force station. And I got to go back to the 14th and the
terrible thing that happened after the Civil War. The 14th Amendment citizen was defined as criminal and a debtor, just by definition. And this was used to basically conduct witch hunts after the Civil War to go find any rebel forces, right? So if you walk in, to this very day, you walk into a court as a municipal citizen, they're going to attach that to you, and they're to your person, I should say, and they're going to have you already convicted. When you walk into one of their courts and they're addressing the all capital letters name, it's already decided that you're a criminal and you're convicted, and all that they're going to discuss is how long they're going to keep you in jail and how much they're going to fine you. That's why they have an over 97% conviction rate in these U.S. district courts. They're defining you as a 14th Amendment citizen, and they're just railroading you right on through. So, what happens? When you go back and you claim your name, your trade name, and then you claim your certificate of assumed name, you have control and you have it on the record, then those courts no longer have jurisdiction. And you can no longer be presumed to be anything that you don't agree to be.
Can you go back and claim it then? If they've taken it away from you?
Sure, you can move to set aside or vacate any improper or null jurisdiction. You can challenge jurisdiction at any time, even long after a case. Yes, sir.
On claiming the land, in the Republic of Texas, it's been about 4 or 5 years ago, we reclaimed all the boundaries in the Republic of Texas. I notified personally every governor, every county judge in all of our territory. And also, one thing that we've always stated, we still have a land center in Texas. We do not report or have anything to do with BLM, like all the other states.
Right, well, see, most of the western states do have a relationship with BLM, but it's supposed to be as a caretaker. BLM is supposed to be caretaking the land for those states, and instead they've been coming in and riding roughshod over them. So you're very fortunate that all that work was done and is now in place. That's, in that respect, Texas is probably, I don't know, a decade ahead of most states at least.
Yeah.
But it's something that all the states have to do.
I'll send you a copy of that.
I'd like to see it.
Because we did that, and the BLM has come into North Texas trying to claim a bunch of land along the Red River, can that be stopped this way?
Absolutely. You betcha. They don't have any right to come in here at all. We never gave up any portion of our land jurisdiction. And when I say we, I mean the first union, the unincorporated United States of America, the first union of states, never gave up any land jurisdiction to any foreign power, ever. So when Texas joined that union, they were guaranteed that their land jurisdiction would be inviolate. And that government still stands.
I know that the people in North Texas are having a lot of trouble with it.
Well,
I heard that it's been stopped, but I don't know that for sure.
we have been busily at work stopping all these federal agencies that have been so out of control. Yeah, we've been stomping them right and left. But that doesn't mean they still won't try to usurp upon property that rightfully belongs to a state. Now, you're in a good position here to argue that and to fight it back. There are states where it's not so easy. Basically, at one point, Nevada was bought and paid for by the mob, by the New York mob. And, you know, retaining the actual land rights of the state has been difficult. But that's the kind of argument that we've had to go through because of all the fraud. I mean, literally, it's like, which state are you talking about? Which United States are you talking about? Which United States of America are you talking about? There's the actual union, which is the United States of America unincorporated, right? And then there's the United States of America Incorporated with a capital T on the. And then there's the United States of America Incorporated with a small t on the. I mean, these guys have spun off more versions of United States of America than you can even begin to imagine. Last time I looked, we had clocked 350 different definitions of United States.
Are they using all of those to create the different corporations where they're buying up all the stock of these major companies?
Yeah, they're using all these different names and deceit, you know, to basically fake you out and make you think that they're something that they're not, or that, you know, to put you in some capacity that you're not even beginning to think of. There's been legal chicanery in this country, the likes of which has never been seen since Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, it's just the most absurd amount of confusion and chaos.
Well, I just read recently where the government owns tens of millions of shares of some of the major corporations.
Yes. We went to the patent office and we researched the patent office and found that our delegated authority had been abused there as well as everywhere else. And as a result, all these territorial governments are incorporated here in America, and we do own them. Yes, sir.
Steve, I think you may have already answered this with regard to the private versus public. Technically, right now, I'm operating as a U.S. person because I've not reconveyed my trade name and changed my status back to the private side. Before I start addressing anybody, any public official in the public, for example, the IRS, do I want to position myself from the private side first, having done all of my reconveyance?
Well, there's a lot of confusion about people talking about the private side and the public side because what was public is now private, and what was private was now public, and it was part of this unlawful conversion that happened back in the 1930s. So basically what we think of as private isn't necessarily private, and what we think of as public isn't necessarily public. These straw man names, these three names, all capital letter names, those are all public. And so when you're talking about this, I think it's perhaps easier to just look at it in terms of claiming back your names and having control of them regardless of whether they're in public or private capacity. I was explaining earlier that the territorial government has control of commerce. It does not have control over international trade. So in order for them to try anyone in their courts, they have to assume that you're operating in commerce. Now, when you flip this over and you bring your names back onto the land jurisdiction, the presumptions change. Then you have to, the presumption has to be that you're operating in international trade then. Do you see what I mean? It just flips everything back on its head. everything is upside down and backwards now, okay? When you come back onto the land and you claim all of your names, it flips back over to the other presumptions. And they don't have control of anything that's not commerce. Yeah, the mics are feeding back. It was your electric personality.
Okay, I want to clarify this on the land of Texas. In December 19th, 1836, Sam Houston.
Could you step up to the mic, please, ma'am? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Is it going?
Yes.
And on December 19th, 1836, Sam Houston signed an act defining the boundaries of the Republic of Texas. And in that, there was a treaty with the United States and Spain, and the president, Sam, was authorized and required to open negotiation with the government of the United States of America as soon as, in his opinion, the public interest required it. So they defined in this act the boundaries of Texas at that time. And then when they were annexed into the United States, it was under the agreement that the land in the Republic of Texas always belonged to the people and would still belong to the people. And that's why we have a general land office, and it never was in the United States government, the land. Okay? That's why.
Right, that's just more confirmation of what I said, that we never gave up any of the land jurisdiction anywhere, not in any state. So the people own the land, both the soil and the land being international land jurisdiction.
How does that fall back under where we took all of this land away from the indigenous people, Native Americans? Are they actually the landholders, or are we, or?
Well, there's a lot of discussion about that. Since our country is still viable and still has its government functioning, we still hold the, I guess you would say, the ownership or the proprietary title. The thing about a nation, you can have many nations occupying the same land, right? So, for example, in Wisconsin, where I grew up, we have the Winnebago Ho-Chunka Nation, and they live cheek and jowl with everybody else. And so, again, we're getting down to the issue of capacity. A Winnebago native born in Black River Falls, Wisconsin, is a member of their tribe, of their nation, right? But they put on their other hat, and they're a Wisconsinite. They're, born there on the land like everybody else.
Citizenship?
It's not really a citizenship. It's a nation can be born of many different distinctions. You can have a nation that's born by family membership. You could have it born of a religious affiliation. You could have it born of an ethnic cultural group. A nation is a rather fluid concept, and you can have many different nations occupying the same space, the same land space. But those who join together to form a state or a republic form a nation, because you have, in order to have a state or a republic, you have to have a nation of people who are allied by an agreement to be part of that. Right? So you're the nation of Texas. You're the people of Texas. And you've come here as Texans, or Texians. Have I worn you out?
No, I got it.
My question is as far as the Indian nations go, my understanding is they never felt they owned the land. They only were caretakers of it for the Supreme Being. So therefore, in reality, we don't own the land. We're only caretakers for God. But we've divided it up for us to take care of particular sections. And I guess the ownership is like why do we keep wanting to say that we own this or we own that when we really are caretakers and we shouldn't have to pay taxes to them, take care of the land that we have, in our sense, bought, that type of thing.
Well, that is the traditional Native American view. When the Europeans showed up here and they said, we want to buy your land, they laughed at them and said, well, isn't it apparent that the land owns us? We don't own it. We come forth from it. We go back to it. Where's the ownership here? So, you know, that is the traditional Native American view on land. Though, in certain respects, the territorial government, at least, has made such a terrible job of taking care of the land in so many places that some of the Native American tribes have made a bid to own the land in their states. And that can be somewhat problematic. Everything that I get from the international community is that everybody needs to just kind of settle back and cooperate with each other and deal with the real issues that are at hand. You know, the safety of the people, the protection of private property, the wise and kind use of public property for the benefit of the state or the people that are living in the state, regardless of what their ethnic background was or what color skin they have.
In reality, we as children of God were given God's land to act as conservators.
Right. Spelled out in Genesis 1:26-28. That's our job. We're supposed to be here taking care of it for future generations and enjoying it ourselves right now. So hopefully we are. I hope we are enjoying more of our freedom, and that as we go forward here, we'll get these business issues taken care of, because people try to look at this in terms of politics. It's not really about politics. It's about business. It's about getting our business taken care of, getting our names and taking control of our assets. If we take control of our assets and do a good job of it, nobody's going to interfere with us, because it's already agreed that it's ours. We have to come forward and claim it. We have to act in self-governance, like you're doing here. And as long as we do that, there's nobody who has any greater claim to this country than we do.
Would there be a possibility of I just went blank.
It's okay.
Like a class action lawsuit by the people of America to go through the court system to get the people that are running our country out and re-electing a new group of people to help us run our country?
Well, right now, the only kind of government that we have there in Washington, D.C. is a corporate structure that's bankrupt. So in point and fact, when it comes right down to it, the government that we have in place right now that is functional is at that original Union level. The United States of America, unincorporated, is still functioning. And because the Constitution was not vacated, all of the parties are still in place, and they still have to obey the constitutions, which is, you know, that's what's protecting us now. Because otherwise, if they'd gotten away with what they intended, they would have taken this entire country as payment for debt.